Hello and welcome to my 5 tops tips video for playing Age of Wonders Planetfall after the Tyrannosaurus update. This is a pretty massive update, as the developers have said multiple times on the streams. They have about 26 pages of notes that on Word documents, and I was just looking at it. It's a lot. It's pretty impressive that they were able to keep this all like under wraps for so long and then just release it in a week. And yeah, I think even if you've been watching all the streams, there's a lot of really cool stuff that they just kind of referenced but didn't really get to dive into. So I want to kind of highlight the 5 biggest ones, the coolest things that I saw at a glance. I've only had about 2 hours with this patch, so I don't know everything about what you have available to you. You may have noticed I used some cheats to get some resources going, to build up some armies and just play around with some stuff. And yeah, I hope you don't mind. I only had so much time. I wanted to release something quickly, kind of get on that hype train for this this big update, this new update, and yeah, let some people know about some neat stuff. So first thing I have here is you should lean into your secret tech. You're going to start with a unit like this one, the Initiate, which is the Cynumbra's special unit at the beginning of the game. Turn 1, you get that. And it's quite nice to have that particular unit in your starting stack, because once you start getting indentured in the fights with them, they do more damage. It used to be that this unit did a repeating attack, so Fueled by Servitude used to be a lot better, but it's still pretty nice. The fact that this is kind of like a shotgun, or it's high damage, it's got a very good chance of applying Broken Mind, as well as you can do some other psychic things with this unit, especially if you go into the mods and you get the what's it called, Consuming Gaze. I think that's still awesome, right? Consuming Gaze, yeah, that looks still pretty awesome. So yeah, make sure that you pick a starting race that synergizes well with the secret tech that you want to play. And I have done some videos on that topic, about an hour long each. They're about an hour long each, so they're pretty massive as a topic, and I don't really want to dive too much into those nuances. But yeah, if you want to check out that, I have talked about how they used to work in previous versions, and while there have been some little changes like that, you could probably figure out you know, they're pretty similar. You could figure out for the most part what's changed by looking at the patch notes themselves, or playing the game, because yeah, you know what, honestly, playing through experience is the best way of doing it, right? It's more fun to play. And I'm looking forward to actually checking out how this unit pairs with all the other psychic units that the Syndicate have, because, you know, this punchy dude, that psychic attack is really nice. And I think, yeah, Cynumbra got some really nice boosts to morale. It's easier to fumble, and if you cause that, if you cause Broken Mind, I think it does a higher chance of causing fumble. So yeah, this is like a pretty strong combo. Now, let's move on to the next tip. Tip number 2. There's a new tall strategy. So if you want to go to war, you can try and raise somebody's sector. It's showing right here that this will give us 90 production, and I think that's because it's a level 3 exploitation. Pretty nice if you want to try and keep your empire small. You don't have to go take everything. You can just pick up pieces and maybe declare peace. I haven't played around with that, but it sounds like diplomacy has changed a lot, and you may be able to force vassalization if you just pick off enough resources off of a certain AI. And I really like the idea of that, because that opens up a lot more roleplay and multiplayer strategies too. It's not just roleplay, it's not just multiplayer strategies. There seems to be like a nice balancing of that in this new mechanic for raising. And I think if you go in and you actually like raise a what you call it, yeah, we're going to declare war here. If you go in and raise a colony, then you get some really nice resources. Something about Cosmite and energy, although I don't think it told you in the patch notes. So let's run an experiment. There's 8 pops here. Let's see what we get if we win this. Maybe we should bring more. This is low risk battle, haha. Cheats. They're good for experiments. So if I want to raise you, I get, ooh, 90 production, 80 energy, 120 research, and 32 cosmite. That's pretty nice. That seems pretty good. So yeah, you can keep that in mind if you want to play tall. Economist got a nerf, so that's no longer valid as of a strategy, or rather city spam and economist is less of a valid strategy. A lot of people used to think building a lot of cities and coming in here and grabbing the economist doctrine, which used to give you plus 15 of whatever central building you had, but now it just gives you plus 10. So it's not nearly as good, but still quite good. The cost of doctrines in general is cheaper, so I still would consider economists a pretty obvious pick. If you can get that, go for it. Units are cheaper. This is still kind of part of the tall strategy, so I kind of included this in here. Units are cheaper to build, so, and maybe upkeep. I'm not too sure about that, but they're definitely cheaper to build, and that means it's easier to have that rush strategy and go raising other people's sectors. Now we're ready to talk about tip number 3, which I kind of started to go to a little bit here when I start talking about doctrines, because there's been a lot of changes to doctrines and covert operations. Basically, society is stronger. If you want to go the society route, that's stronger. Sounds like military and society got a lot of bonuses, which is neat. They just kind of are more interesting research paths to go down. You don't go down the typical metas anymore. You got other options. So yeah, these are like really affordable, and if you want to go noble to diplomats, the bonuses are the same as they used to be, but now it's cheaper to implement. 50 energy instead of 100. This is 50 energy instead of 100. If you look here, they've moved the doctrine slots around, so now you can get a doctrine slot if you want to focus on the top. You don't even need to go down the covert operation tree or any of this crazy covert effectiveness, but it sounds like you can get to steel maps earlier. So if I wanted to, I could try and research that and then take all of his maps next turn and figure out where all of his stuff is, right? That's not like the worst strategy if you're at war. So I guess we could try and do that really quickly. It won't take that long to run through a turn. Where am I? Where's my stuff? Steel maps. I'll take 2 turns to implement. I don't really want to wait 2 turns. What else did we put in here? Yeah, a lot of doctrines that weren't super great got a lot of really significant nerfs. One that I noticed in the stream from last week was Bio Crusader. It's a lot better. I used to think these things were garbage, the things that boosted your damage in certain situations against certain opponents, because every once in a while they're not very they just can't be applied to the fights that you're in, and people can counter that easily if they notice that you have that doctrine implemented. But now that they've added things like frenzy to the damage bonus, that this stuff is a lot better, and I'm not sure if Cynumbra have anything like that, but if they do, if they have a damage bonus thing, I think it in general is better. But this was always like that. But this may have gone slightly better, I think, potentially. Yeah, I think that one got better. And yeah, all around, a lot of these like higher tier ones I think got balanced to make them more interesting for the late game strategy, or people who are able to survive that long, And honestly, I like to play like that. I like to play without too much of a hustle. I'm not much of a min-maxer, more of a rule player myself. But yeah, the changes basically I think are, like I said earlier, they keep both your single player experience and the multiplayer experience in mind. So yeah, I think we're ready to move on to tip number 4. You're going to want to upgrade your sector exploitations past level 2 if they are only going to be level 2 when you get them. I think this one right here, if I want to turn this into a it can go to level 3 because it's got 2 of those things. That's right. If I wanted to turn something else like this one into a food sector, it'd only be level 2. But we have nice things available to us, and honestly, I like a lot of the bonuses you get at level 3 from the buildings, like these special, I forget what they're called, structures. I think they're the sector upgrades, I guess. But yeah, I really like the ability to get more armor on your non-elite units from the very early game. So if you can like get a production sector, this would be a fantastic one. I think next turn we get that, so I'll just do this really quickly, and well, I'll show you basically if you're lucky enough what you can do in the early game. I didn't think about it until just now, and I was like, oh, I should have gone for this earlier. And now what happens is, alright, yeah, it takes another turn to do that. Now what happens when we get that in our space is every unit that we build is basically better. Oh no! Yeah, whatever. This isn't a game I'm trying to win. I'm just trying to make an example of how you can do things. But yeah, we're almost back over here, and I can show you. Oh no, they're coming after me because I have no armies. But yeah, let's say I wanted to come in here and grab this thing. Oh, that's a nice thing. But one of these guys, followed up by oh, I can't even build it because I don't have the research. That's right. Yeah. Plus this building, and actually I'd be getting +2 armor on all my units. Quite nice. Given that these guys have shields, I think that would be nice for my syndicate. Just kind of balance them out a little bit more, protect them from more types of damage. So yeah, basically take advantage of your climate and terrain to get really nice things, or maybe grab a landmark and take your exploitations to level 3 and above. It looks like it's easier to get something out of them even if it is a lower exploitation. Yeah, it used to be a little bit harder to just grab more resources. Actually, wait, is that right? I think it used to be you could grab a similar amount of resources in the early game, and it was a little bit harder to make the most out of it if you upgraded them past a certain level. So yeah, you probably should take it past level 3 if you can afford to, especially given that the special structures here can give you more than just +1 armor. If you can take this to level 5 in the early-ish game or at the mid-game, that's a pretty nice bonus. Although I think it used to be that at level 3 you got +1 armor, and at level 4 you got +2, and at level 5 you got +3. So this may have gone a slight nerf, but you can get it earlier in general. So I guess that's fair. That sounds about right. Yeah, if you can get it earlier, they would have to nerf it a little bit. Okay, we're ready to move on to tip number 5, which is happiness has gotten a pretty significant rework. Now, at the beginning of the game, everybody's going to start with, I think, 2 happiness slots in every colony. You don't have to build a building for that. You can, of course, always build a recreation dome to get more happiness if you want, but it's just in general easier to get that. And there have been a significant I think upgrade to the way happiness actually works. Once you get a happiness event, then I don't think I got one here to show off basically how it works, but once you get a happiness event, then it can give you cosmite or influence now. So say I had cleared out this location right here, and I got a happiness event in this city. I could get some cosmite there. That's really nice. I think it's also just fixed in general, so if you get like a small city and you don't have any like resources being made, a happiness event is no longer wasted. So I think it's probably better to invest in happiness than it used to be. I used to do it anyways because I like happiness events. I really like that random influx, and actually I enjoyed moving my people around onto the proper resource and making the most out of it. But it was, as I just said, very easy to not get the most out of it as you could. But now that there has been changed in cities, you can get happiness a lot quicker and a lot more easily, as well as through, I think, a location which I was hoping I would have uncovered, called Stadium Arcadium. I don't see them yet though, because it used to have a different symbol. It could have been that they changed it. Yeah, I forgot to actually try and find that location. But you know what I can do? I've already told you I'm using these. I could use this to try and find one. And I don't see the symbol anywhere nearby. Of course. Wait, is this it? Yes. Haha. Plus 10 happiness. That's really good. It used to be just plus 2. Now it's a whole plus 10. So if you can get something like that in your city, you're gonna get some happiness events pretty quickly. I think if you just put a city right on top of that, the upkeep for happiness is pretty low. Only 2 per person. So yeah, you're gonna get to that 40 threshold very quickly. Yeah, very nice. I think that's everything. All my tips. I'm just gonna take a quick look at my notes, see if I missed anything. Yeah, it looks like I said something about if you get more influence in the early game, it's gonna make it easier to buy colonies. So while if I saw something like this, I would rush it anyways. And a game where I scouted out properly and I thought more about all this stuff, this would have been where I sent my first colonist. Obviously, that's the smart place. It's a little bit further away, but that gives you a lot more influence. And if you get a happiness event there, it makes it easier for you to buy other settlements all around you. And who doesn't want to do that? I don't know. Fighting them isn't really worth it in my opinion. I know other people like doing that, but I like buying them. That's just my personal play style. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, to subscribe, and maybe share it on social media. I've noticed that those kind of things generally really help my channel grow. And yeah, I appreciate you sticking around all the way to the end. I'll see you around. Have a good one.